Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to episode 4 of Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. Gotta specify that. Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. Last episode we had Roxy and a lot of great, amazing depth added to her and to Ramona. The series is definitely taking a very different route by characterizing and humanizing the evil X's a lot more. At least so far. Like, it even gave a little bit at the end there to Gideon, who we find out is not actually Gideon. He is Gordon. And he changed his name trying to forget all about his past, but now has come back to confront it, and might be some sparks flying with Julie, which I can dig. But like I said, the core meat of the episode centered around Roxy and Ramona, and how Ramona just kind of left Roxy, just kind of abandoned her without properly saying goodbye and everything, without properly breaking up. She was left without closure. She was left without feeling cared about at all. Ramona apologized, and Roxy accepted. And although they didn't get back together or anything, Roxy found friendship with her and with Kim, who she tried to get together with, but no sparks. It's just really cool what they're doing here, and I hope they continue to do it with all the evil X's. So next, of course, we have Lucas Lee. This was already built up in the last episode. We're gonna go see Lucas next, unless they pull us for a I can't speak. Listen, I just woke up. I'm still waking up. Unless they take us for a spin and do something different, then we should be going to Lucas next. Excuse me. Which honestly means more Chris Evans, and that's always good. But since we are moving the focus, I'm thinking that we're probably not going to see Roxy much again at all. Maybe once we have gone through all the evil X's and have to confront like Matthew and everything. At the end of this series, we'll probably have them all again. But until then, it seems like it's just going to be, excuse me, just going to be like one at a time, just kind of like in the movie and everything, and I assume the comic. Just one at a time, taking care of all of them, and the others won't show back up again until probably the end, if at all. So, yeah. It's gonna suck not to see more Roxy, but at the same time, I'm excited to see everyone else, too. So, we're just gonna get into this and hope for the best. We're going to see what this episode has in store, and if it is Lucas or if it's someone else, we're going to see how they are given more depth and character to them as well. So, yeah, I'm excited. Let's get this going and hope for the best. See what we get. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black, then fades back in, everything for that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So I looked up Kevin McDonald, the director's voice, and I never remember the actor's name, but it's like, yeah, I very much recognized him. He's Pleakley from Lilo and Stitch, as well as Duckweed from Amphibia. It's like, yeah, I obviously recognized the voice, because I've heard it plenty. It's like, I've seen Lilo and Stitch so many times, the original movie, and then, you know, all the other movies and shows and stuff. And obviously I've watched Amphibia, so yeah, I recognize the voice for Duckweed. It just didn't occur to me, I guess, that would be him, so it's like, my mind didn't click. Excuse me. But yeah, that was 100% him. I went back and listened to it, and yeah, it's not even a question. So yeah, this episode focuses on Lucas. We see that Lucas is just kind of coasting through life, just kind of accepting things for what they are. And he has this whatever attitude towards anything that happens. And we learn later on in the episode that this is a coping mechanism. And it's very clear. It doesn't say it directly, but it's very clear it's a coping mechanism. Because when Ramona left him for Todd, and it's very clear that she did like she did with Roxy and just kind of left, just kind of abandoned him without proper closure and everything, it broke his heart. And it caused him to basically vow to not let anything get to him again. Not only did it set him on the path to his stardom, but he vowed to just create this personality and lifestyle of whatever in order to survive, in order to not be let down like that again. And this is a real life thing people do. Coping with loss and fear and pain and sorrow with just acting like a tool. Let's be honest. It's very clear that Lucas is not like a bad person. He's not like this terrible, like, asshole or anything. He's a hurt little boy who's overcompensating by acting like an aloof dick because he doesn't know what else to do. The interesting thing is that unlike Roxy, he doesn't really get closure here. He doesn't really turn around. He ends up getting fired. His career is down the toilet. And he just goes with it. He's so lost at this point that he just continues his whatever attitude. And unlike with Roxy, Ramona doesn't seem to feel as much guilt here. Like, it's very clear Ramona had a shit ton of guilt over Roxy. But here, she almost has a whatever attitude of her own. With the entire backstory and everything, she's just like, okay, that's great and all, but are you going to let me help you, or are we just not going to do this? It's like she doesn't care. And while the last episode showed how Ramona can make up for her mistakes, this one showed how she can continue to make them. And I think that's important. It's important to show that Ramona is not infallible, that she can still make mistakes, and that she can, you know, not fix things sometimes. It makes her feel more realistic. Because think about it, you go through life, and yeah, there's some things that you'll realize you've done and you want to fix, you want to make up for. But then there's some things you just either don't realize are mistakes that you've made and have to fix, or you just choose not to fix them for whatever reason. That's a realistic thing that happens to pretty much anyone. It's happened to me. There's been a lot of things that I have just chosen not to, you know, fix. But there's a lot of things that I have. And there's even some things that you just can't fix. Some things that are just like too broken. And maybe that's what Ramona thought for this case. Maybe she thought Lucas was just too far gone at this point to really put forth the effort into changing. But I don't think he was. I don't think that's the case, even if Ramona thought it was. I definitely think that Ramona could have helped him here. But she chose not to. And again, I like that. I like that she's not shown to be this perfect person. That she does have these problems. Now, the episode had a few other things of note in it, of course. Obviously, the ending thing with Todd's vegan powers showing that he can create portals and making him a major suspect. Though, I also don't really believe it's him, honestly. We got a cameo from Envy Adams playing the film version of Ramona. We even had a film version of Wallace, who was played by, as the real Wallace put it, an infamous heterosexual, which is an amazing phrase. I love that. But yeah, the dude we saw briefly hitting on Ramona, and oh my god, that was uncomfortable. Like, don't get me wrong, it's like pretty much anytime someone hits on a person like that, it's just super gross. It's not okay. But the way that he specifically was doing it was just like really ewy, and it's just like, ugh. Especially like the way he reacted to like when she was skating away and he was like staring at her ass, and it's like, oh my god, dude, just don't. You can choose not to, just don't. Obviously, there was the big action scene in this episode as well with Lucas taking on the paparazzi. It kind of ended in a draw of sorts. Because it's like the paparazzi were taken out, but Lucas also was kind of taken out. So, yeah. It kind of just goes to show how Lucas is on this self-destructive path. And even when he succeeds at what he's trying to do, he's still hurting himself. Which is actually really damn powerful of a message to share there. But again, I like that Lucas wasn't like redeemed like Roxy was. I like that they're not just gonna do the same thing with every evil ex, because I that's what I thought was gonna happen. After the last episode, I'm thinking like, oh, so Ramona's gonna go and fix things with all of her evil exes. She's going to give and gain closure with all of that. But no, clearly not. And again, I like that. I think that that's important to show that not everything will be fixed. That you're going to have regrets in your life that just aren't going to be able to be, handled for one reason or another. And again, in this case, it was Ramona's fault. It was entirely on her that it wasn't handled. She refused to even try. Which is just fascinating to me. And again, I'm saying this entirely, like, from a positive angle. Because while it was definitely a bad thing on Ramona's part, it was good for the story to showcase something like this. Now, this episode also gave me the big theory that Scott was the person in young Neil's room, the one that wrote the screenplay, and that Neil is taking credit for. Because there's a few clues that it kind of has to be. One of the big ones being, like, whoever wrote the script, which, again, we know was not actually young Neil, knows what Wallace and Scott said in bed, which means it would have to be either Wallace or Scott. Wallace, we know it wasn't. So, process of elimination, you know? It would have to be Scott. Not to mention, the script has Scott winning against Matthew Patel. And based on what else is said about how Lucas is defeated and all, is basically the events of the movie. And I guess probably the comic as well. Because I'm sure the comic is pretty much how the movie goes, just with more detail and more added in and stuff. Or I guess vice versa. The movie is probably pretty accurate to the original source material, the comic. But I think it's just a really interesting idea to integrate that into there. I think it's pretty fun. So, yeah. It's gotta be Scott. Right? Don't obviously spoil me. Do not tell me. But it's gotta be. I'm not. I just want to make sure you know. I'm not actually asking for you to tell me. I'm just working through my process here. So that's my big theory right now. And yeah, it looks like we're going straight into Todd next, which means, well, I mean, we already know Envy's there, so we know she's gonna come more into play again. Because we only really got focused on her in the first episode. But we're definitely going to have to come back to her. And it makes sense to come back to her with Todd because, they're dating currently. So, yeah. I'm definitely excited to continue to see where this goes. And hopefully it continues to impress because this has been really fantastic so far, honestly. For now, though, tell me in the comments below what did you think of this episode of Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.